Hi, Rebecca. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for
And
inviting me.
you are so welcome here. And can you just start introducing yourself?
My name is Rebecca. I work at a company called Kvalifik, where I'm the commercial director and partner. We're a digital agency where we develop websites, apps, platforms, branding, design, and AI solutions.
AI solutions.
Yes.
Wow. How long have you been doing that?
We started working with AI about 2 years ago when generative AI became a thing. So, when Midjourney launched their first kind of like prototype of the product, we started geeking out in that and seeing how we could use it for clients. And we were very lucky that a client we worked with before wanted us to generate a report for their event where we used generative AI, and here was the images. And then we kind of learned from there to implement it in processes.
So you've been actually in the game for a long time.
Yeah, 2 years.
2 years.
That's a
With
long
AI,
time.
That's a long time, I feel like.
How do you explain that to clients? The usage of like AI, how that can help them in a way?
It's very different because I feel like some of the buzz going on is like, oh, you can use AI for everything. You kind of drop it as a buzzword in all the conversations you have. But in reality, I like to have the conversation about like, what are the challenges they're facing and what they wish they could change? Is it that they don't have in-house designers or graphics, or is it because they have a lot of manual processes where they have to do Excel sheets and reporting, and they're like, oh, I use about like 60 hours doing this data entry and stuff. And that's when we come in and start talking about like, well, how is the process right now? Is there any way we can use any of these tools that we know? We don't do any machine learning models. Of course, we don't do that, but we use models that have been used before and tested and kind of implement them into solutions. So we don't go out and say, hey, do you want to buy an AI solution? Because I feel like that's too much buzz. It's like figuring out where you can actually use it.
Okay. So there's a lot of conversation
Yes.
before you like suggest them for that AI solution.
Yeah, so it could be something as simple as someone that wants a new website. And on this new website, they're saying that we actually don't have people to do customer support. We're a very small team, and we really want to have this interactive experience with the customer. So how can we solve that? Well, one of the options is you can find a lot of bots you can kind of train yourself where it's automated answers, or you can train kind of an AI chatbot to form it to your brand and your website and your products. A lot of companies have done this with sizes. They compare it to other sizes. They know people that say, I'm this height and this weight. We've seen previously 20 people have bought these pants and they fit when they're this height and these pants. And then you can kind of train the AI bot to reply in the way that it needs to.
That's so interesting.
So you mostly use the AI to actually, you basically bring a package where then the customer is using the AI. So it's not necessarily you who is doing the work with AI and then selling it.
No, not necessarily. We also do a few talks where we kind of identify what needs you have. We were working with a health company that said that they had a lot of their employees that kept asking their managers, everyone talks about how AI is making their day more productive. How can we do that? We have no training. We have no clue. We don't have time in our day to just go in and try to research it. Where we went out and we did a talk and we kind of identified some of the daily tasks they had. Then we trained a custom GPT to kind of answer some of these and do some of these routines. And then we showed them live. And then we asked them, hey, here's the link. If you have your computer with you, put it into the computer and then try yourself and see how it works. And in that way, we do more of the interactive. So we don't deliver a product for them per se, but we give them the intro to how you get started. This is a very, very low JI generative. We can all download ChatGPT and get started. But if you want to do the custom GPT, what does it take to make it unique for you?
Okay. And how did you guys saw that this could be an opportunity for you as an agency to invest resources into?
We're just really curious as an agency in general. I think that's one of our main values. If something new comes out, we dedicate time to learning it. So each month we have a day called Kvalifik, and Kvalifik means that we take one entire day, working day, out of the month just to try new tools, do new challenges. We have hackathons. We have lean coffee where we decide, do we want to keep speaking about this topic or not? And then usually people come up and present. We all do some post-its and we present from each other what tools you want to explore and why. And the people presenting the idea is kind of like the one that has to take lead and say, okay, I'm imagining that we're doing it this way. but everyone can sign up for it. And then you're sitting together. And for example, that could be some of the new tools where you can do wireframing or you can do mood boards. And then you sit and explore for an hour. And then we present to each other what we learned from this. Do we want to use it in our everyday or do we not? So that's kind of like in our culture that we always want to try new things. We don't get stuck in the same processes.
That's so interesting because you're not the first one that I've heard that does this. That allocate like some of the days of work just to learn. Okay, now we're not going to work on ongoing projects. We're just going to learn and try new things. And maybe, do you think maybe this is because things are going so quick nowadays that companies and maybe organizations as well, they need to adapt to the speed of things, and they are actually allocating like just time and resources for people to just go to work and learn?
Yeah.
It's crazy. I'm just thinking, and if the company don't do it, if they don't justify spending the time, then they are lagging behind, and then they are gonna make less and less in the future. Probably.
How did you guys decide to start doing this?
Well, we were just curious ourselves. So it was actually one of our employees. So we're one of the first one that's been following along on what's going on Reddit and Twitter, and knew that there was going to be a launch date on this date, and then we could start trying to explore it. And then I was like, hey, you guys, it came out. Let's play with it. And that was just a regular work day. And then we were like, oh, how can we use this? And then suddenly one person was sitting, then someone came to the screen, a third person, and suddenly the entire company was covered behind one screen. I was like, what is this? And it's the same with like the Photoshop. When Photoshop got their AI feature, then we were like, oh my God, I have this photo I took of my girlfriend this week. Like, let's do that. And he was sitting and trying to do like, let's see if we can get a fish in here. Let's see if we can make her larger. And then everyone was like, oh, what is he doing? And everyone came over. I was like, I'm going to do it as well. So we have this curious mentality that if something new is happening, then it's okay to say, okay, I'm just going to pause what I'm doing for a moment and trying to see if this is something I can use. We have tried a ton of stuff that didn't work out too. So it's not like every time you try something new, like, of course you can use it. No. There's a lot of stuff that's lagging way behind.
Have that actually ever burned you? You know, like that you spent some time and maybe you thought that this is the way we should go, and then...
I don't think I would ever say that it has burned us.
Okay.
Because I think it's good that we know what's out there, what's working, what's not. Because it also makes us better at advising customers.
Yeah.
Because when customers come and say, well, I've heard this boss about this or this or this, then we can say what our experience was with it. It might not be the same they have, but there are some core solutions that just lack functionality, or they haven't had user testing, or the UX is like completely off. Then we can tell them like, this was our experience when we tried it at this time and place. Obviously, products improve, but I think it hasn't burned us because it just helps us knowing what's out there.
Cool. Can we go, because we talked a little bit before about the fact that you spend a lot of time in the US. You grew up here, but then went there and now you're back here. What are some of the differences in like corporate-wise or like study-wise or even culture-wise that you think you might have gotten there that has helped you here in a way?
I think there's a lot of culture differences. And I don't think they're necessarily good or bad. But Danes has a certain way of being, and Americans have a certain way of being. And it's not that you're labeling anyone, but we grow up in some kind of cultural norm that shapes us as who we are.
Right.
So Americans are very positive, and you always hear this encouraging feedback, and you always see on whether it's Instagram or TikTok or whatever, you always see this like power of energy and people not afraid of saying, I'm great and I'm good and I did this. Then when you're in Denmark, you're in a culture where people are a lot more shy of saying those things. We have something called janteloven in Denmark, which is like this social construct norm that you're never better than the society or everyone else. So when you're over there, you get awards in school. They always rank people in school, like who was top 3 in class. That never happens in Denmark. We don't want people to stand out in that way. Of course, there are amazing, incredible people that make it and start new businesses, and they kind of get that fame, but from 5th to 6th grade, already there, you're being ranked in school as, are you the best? Will you get this diploma? Will you go up and get a medal in front of your pupils? Or is it going to be like in Denmark where we get our grades, but it's private? You can decide to share it or not to share it. Nobody else really knows. So I think that's a big culture. And when you come to the working aspect and the corporate aspect, there's a big difference between how you're managing a company. So the best way to explain it is there's kind of like the micromanaging boss because they grew up with litigations and they grew up with lawsuits. And then there's kind of the I value family and life and the work-life balance. And I think you can guess which one is what country. So the big difference that I felt in the US from my own personal experiences, when you're in the US, you are your work. So taking time off, if you have a client, that's disrespectful because can you just pause me on 3 weeks? Am I not more important? That was kind of some of the experiences I got there, where in Denmark, it's like, oh, well, I'm going 3 weeks to Indonesia. And they're like, oh my God, that sounds incredible. I've been here, and I have some suggestions. It's kind of different ways of communicating about what's allowed in the norm. And then there is also another difference I experienced with micromanaging. In the US, you micromanage a lot more. And it's not because you want to be a bad manager, or you have any evil or ill intentions, but it's because you're used to being in litigations, you're used to being in lawsuits, you're used to having to take all these precautions for not having to go to court or get some kind of fine. Where in Denmark, we do the opposite. When we hire people, we trust that they're the best at their job. I don't need to know what's going on. I know you'll call me if you need me. So if you CC me on every single email, I don't need to know it. If I don't need to make a decision, I don't need to approve anything, I know you got it, and I know you'll call me. But where in the US, please just keep me in the loop with everything, so I'm sure that nothing goes downhill or where it shouldn't be. Okay. So I feel like those are some of the culture differences I experienced.
Yeah. You are a partner now at the company you're at right now. Sorry. Do you like? Are you trying to like create like a culture that is that kind of like blends the best of both worlds, or are you just adapting to the Danish market?
That's a really good question, because when I came into Kvalifik, I fell in love with Kvalifik just the way that the company is. Like the culture, the people, everything. I fell in love with what the previous founders had, the current founders, but previous partners founded. What I have tried to bring with me is kind of that it's okay to stand out. Like we don't have to follow Janteloven. It's okay to say when someone is doing something great. We have our Monday stand-up kickoff for the week. And if someone have done something great last week, we always make sure to give praise. And everyone should know, because we work on different projects. So this person A is doing something amazing and person D, E, F has been doing something else so they have no clue about it. We want to make sure everyone knows that they did something great. And that's okay, because it's not a bad thing. It's just that they're talented, they worked hard, they deserved it. So I feel I've been trying to bring that in, but Kvalifik has always had a great culture and a diverse, inclusive culture. So I think I want to bring more good stuff and all the energy, but it was a really good culture to start with.
Yeah. Don't break what is already working, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, just gonna. Yeah. You also did like a lot of sports. Do you think it influence in the way that you work nowadays? Because I know like when you do sports, you really need to have a very structured daily routine, and you take care of what you eat and how many times you practice. Sometimes during the not just during the week, but also during the day. So you must be very tough on yourself. Did you bring that into the way you approached your career?
Yeah.
Outside of sports?
Yeah, I really think so. I think as an athlete, you learn a lot of core values that you bring with you. Just to mention a few, I can maybe highlight 4, like teamwork, resilience, always wanting more, and then patience. I think those are kind of like the 4 key elements that I've taken with me. So the teamwork part obviously comes if you played any sport. If you're on a team, you cannot do everything yourself. You kind of learn how to work with each other's skills and how each other communicate. You're not doing what's best for you, you're doing what's best for us. So if someone is having a bad day, it's your responsibility to make sure they get a better day, because that's the only way we perform better. But there's also the trust when you're on a team. Imagine playing soccer. you have to trust that when you're passing the ball, that's because you know they're going to take the ball and then they're going to score. You're not going to pass the ball if you don't trust the person. And I took that with me a lot. If I hand over some kind of assignment or a client or what it may be, I really trust that the people, they can run with this. Like, they are the best people. We hired them because they do their job their best. So I think you also learn to identify how people communicate. You learn to identify what makes people happy and what motivates them. Because some people do sports because it's just a dream sport and it's fun, and other people do it because they're super competitive, and some people already have a goal of the Olympics, and we have different things that motivate us. And it's like tapping into those things. You really learn that from sports, and that transfers one-to-one when you're going into a workplace. I used to coach as well, and that was for very young children. And that really taught me a lot, because the way I speak to one is not the way I speak to someone else. And that's because there's different ways of it. So when people say, well, your coach is always yelling at you and they're throwing stuff and all that, and I'm talking when I was older, obviously you don't do that with kids. They're not doing it to be mean. They're doing it because they know you can do better. They really believe in you. And when you're teaching younger children that, how are you going to really show them that someone really has faith in you? They can come from going to a horrible school, being bullied, having parents that are getting a divorce. How can you kind of have them forget all of that and find something they're really good at and just help them get even better than that? And you do that the same in the workplace. Someone could be leaving their girlfriend or boyfriend or getting a divorce, or maybe someone just gave birth, or what do I know? But you learn to think about, okay, well, how do we adapt this so we still perform best together? So I think that's the teamwork part. That's a really big thing.
Can I make a comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think working in a team, being good at working in a team, it's key for anything you want to do. But I think a good thing to reflect is like, what do we do as a team when your teammate doesn't score, for example? Like, how do we approach challenges, and how do we just take hard conversations and that motivation thing, because I feel like in many places they avoid those topics, or they just wiggle around those, those challenges, but what I've learned, and also what I've seen, is that when you have the time to take and give criticism, whether it is bad or good, engaging with people makes them invested, and that's very much what coaches want to do with those with the athletes. They want them to be invested, because they think you can do so much better. I believe in you, but a lot of that conversation, well, I think a lot of the coaches is basically avoiding conflict, and I don't think people understand how much that damages actually the team chemistry when you are avoiding having tough conversations and making clear what the goals are and how you get there. And it's, I don't know, do you have any thoughts on it?
No, I thought very good point, because you need to have the tough conversations, because everything is not going to be a honeymoon. There's nothing in life there is a honeymoon. But it's like, how are you doing those conversations? Right. What's your end goal? Is your end goal of this conversation that they're going out on the other side and they know what to do better next time? Is your end goal of this conversation that you want people to go home and feel horrible about themselves and now being afraid of making mistakes again? Like, what is your outcome of this conversation? Because often these conversations, if people make mistakes, it's not like they don't know themselves. So you don't have to come and point fingers. Yeah. So it's not really a critique you're doing. It's more you're doing a retrospective. Hey, I can feel you kind of off today. Did something happen on this assignment or task, or like what's going on? You're allowed to kind of ask an open-ended question, and then you say, no, I'm okay, and kind of let it be like, yeah, maybe I'm having a bad day because that one of the things I did broke, and I didn't think it was going to break when I published it or something. Okay, well, how did it happen? Let's figure out. Maybe they already figured out, but kind of talk about it. Like, were you super busy? Did you have 10 things going on at once that you had a deadline on today? Or was it because that we don't have a system in place where we code review or whatever it can be? So I feel like it's not criticism. It's more like an improvement that you're doing together. So I feel like that's the approach that you're doing it. It's still a hard conversation. Nobody thinks it's fun to admit to someone I did a mistake, or I sent an email where I put the wrong company name because I'm busy and I just were on the phone with someone from this company and I was replying to the other one at the same time. That's embarrassing because it seems like I didn't actually value what I was sending. It sucks. But then if someone sees it that I CC'd it and I didn't see it, they need to tell me like, hey, next time you kind of pause yourself after you have a conversation, you put the phone down and then you look at extra time. And if you feel like you have a lot going on, then ask one of us to read it one more time before you send it. So it is tough, but it's like, it's how you do it. Is it because you want a person to feel bad or because you want to help them? I think.
Yeah, and it's kind of coming back to micromanaging or giving people the freedom, right? Because, of course, sometimes we have been in a situation where, like, we are observing that maybe we need to address some things, and then, I don't know, honestly, I really don't enjoy, like, actually telling people that they are doing something bad. So this is kind of, I really like the perspective you are bringing, that kind of like, okay, we are here, we are the team, and this is the problem. You are not the problem. There is a problem here. Together we are a team. How can we together change the problem? So thank you for sharing that. That's really, it kind of like clicked in my head just when you were talking about it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a relationship, right? It's like, but I don't have an issue. This is the issue. How do we solve it?
So it was team, and then...
Yeah, so teamwork is the first one. I would probably say the second one would be resilience, because when you're an athlete, you're not going to win every single time. And it is tough. It is tough getting up at like 4 a.m. in the morning, 5 a.m. in the morning, depending on where you live, how long transportation you have, working out for 3 hours, not always being at your best because you have school, you have work, you have a lot of different stuff. You have to go and do all that in between. Then you have to go back to practice and you have to do it again. And it was tough in the beginning, and then you want me to do it again in the afternoon. Like the resilience you have to just to keep on going again and again and again. And every single time that you like get knocked down, to pick yourself up. So you have a coach that kind of picks you up, also pick you down, because you need to learn yourself how to pick yourself up. So I feel like the resilience I've had, if we lose a client that we thought we were going to win this one, we are a perfect match, and we love the process in it, and then suddenly they just don't email you back, or they don't call you back.
Yeah.
That is tough. It sucks. You want to keep calling them to say, why? What did I do wrong? Because at least give me some feedback.
Right.
Like, that's the part you get as being an athlete. If I didn't win, what should I do different next time? So I feel like the resilience, because like when I started, oh my gosh, I had a long way to become one of the best ones. Absolutely. But it's like to keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. So it's like no matter how many times people are like, oh, don't you want to stay out, or don't you want to have a drink, and don't you want to do this? No, I have a goal and I want to stick to it. So I feel like the resilience part, it's definitely something I've taken with me. Like when COVID happened, how are you going to run a business through COVID? And if you have a event agency or whatever it could be, it is tough. You really need to have resilience, because most people would say, you know what? Well, it's over. This was what I was going to do. Now I can't do it. Clearly, it's out of my hands. No, it's not. It's like, how are you going to approach that situation? What can you do? Can you do online events? Can you figure out a new way to approach this? Like, try to see opportunities. That's like what I see the resilience as, instead of just seeing failures.
Okay, because this is very present for me right now. Like, as that scenario that you just described, like not receiving back from emails from a client, like it's very recent happened with me. And how do you like connect that to resilience? And because you use the word failure there, how do you connect or disconnect the feeling of failure as a personal thing, and separate that to your performance as a team, or I mean as a company as well? Because you are in leadership, I'm also in leadership. I take it very personal. Like when I feel like I haven't performed, it's not just me. I have a whole team behind me, you know, and there is and like I'm like you're not even answering my email, like you know what I mean? Like how do you do that?
Well, again, it took practice to get the resilience. So the first time that someone didn't call me back or didn't reply, like it sucked. It sucked the second time as well, third time, the fourth time, it keeps on going. But it's how did I react to it? I kept thinking, okay, well, I did this. Maybe I should do this different next time. At least trying to change something to see if the outcome changes. Because I feel like that way you change the situation. So you're like, it's not I didn't do anything wrong. The approach or the communication was not fitting for this receiver. What can I do different here? What should I focus on? So I think that's one of the ways. But it's also kind of removing yourself for the situation. Like it's tough when you're trying to land on your clients. They spoke to 3, 4, 5 different agencies, and you're not going to win every single time. Whether you're the best one for it or not, there might be a personal match. There might be someone knowing someone's brother or something else. And sometimes you have to tell yourself, could I have done anything different in this situation, or did I do my best? If I did my best, then I'm happy. I really did my best. I showed what I could do, what the team could do. And if they one day need something else where I'm a better match, they will call me. So I think I try to remove myself from the situation. So it's not an actual failure per se.
Right.
It's just an opportunity to do something different next time. And I feel like that's what we have been doing at Kvalifik for like 2 years now. Every single time we didn't get a call back or someone suddenly just ghosted us after we've used 20 hours on a proposal, then we just never hear back. Okay, what do we do different? Should we then force people to be on a call with us when we present it? Because otherwise we won't send it to them, because then they can't really ghost us if they actually want it. Like, what should we do? That's not what we do. We still send it. But it's like, you just learn to see opportunities instead if you have this feeling. And if you want to try to like explore new ways, maybe I should follow up with the client before I send them it to see if they're actually really interested.
Right.
So I think it's the resilience again. It sucks the first many times. I understand. But it's like, try to see it as an opportunity, because in the end, it's their loss. If you did the best you could do, it's their loss. You did great. That's how I would definitely,
I'll take that. I'll take that. So, yeah, you okay. This is resilience,
Yes.
the second one?
Teamwork, resilience. Then I would say the next one is always wanting more. As an athlete, you always want more, and you always want to do better. And it's like, if you get a second place, you want first place. If you want the national championships, you want to go to the European championships. One common thing that I see in all kind of athletes, and you see it in people that are not athletes too, now I'm just talking about what I identify that I know is very common in athletes. It's kind of the drive. The drive you don't participate in elite sports and pro sports to get a fourth place. Like, you don't do it. You have this DNA in yourself that you always want more. And you see that also in business. Like, I don't want to just be the same as we always been. Of course, we have it great in that, but I want to deliver more results, and I want to deliver more quality, and I want to have an even better process when I onboard clients. It's like, I always want to do the best I can do and a little bit more. So if I promise a client that there's going to be an 8-week timeline, I always aim for 7, always, no matter what. So I might have what is actually realistic, but you can tell my team, and they probably hate me too when they hear this, I always try to do it faster. So I don't guarantee anything. The contract said the other stuff, but I always want to do it a little better than what it is that we said. So I feel like the always wanting more is something that I definitely got from sports to everyday life.
What's the difference between that, what you just described, and, for example, you work very hard and you get second place? Do you not feel like, shouldn't you just enjoy the fact that you got so close anyway?
You probably should. I am the most horrific loser in the world. I think everyone that's going to hear this is going to say she's the worst playing board games when I am. And it's like, some people if they were third last time and they came second now, they still did better. And of course you should be proud of it. But you still want to be first then? Like, it's the mentality. Like, if you want a client that has, I don't know, a budget of $10,000, well, then you want to get a client that's $15,000, because why not? Like, you want to be better. You always want more. So you're still celebrating, like, kind of the steps to go there. There's milestones. Like, you don't go from being a club athlete to being the national team just by one day. It takes steps, but you celebrate the steps knowing you want more. So it's not that I'm going to go out and celebrate. Yeah, I got second place. Now I'm going to take off 2 weeks and like have fun with my friends. And then I pick it back up. I go back to practice in the state. Like I start all over again and try even more. So I feel like I've definitely taken that with me to my job.
Is that the culture clash with Denmark?
Yeah, a little bit maybe. Because in Denmark, you shouldn't always be greedy. I feel like that's how it's being perceived in Denmark. Well, you're being greedy. Why are you not satisfied with what you have now? But a lot of other people feel the same way in Denmark too. Of course, they want to be the best at what they do. And I'm a Dane, like I'm a Danish athlete, or I was at least. And that's how a lot of Danes feel like. They want to do better. But it's like, how are you celebrating that you want to do better? So it's, are you going to write out on a LinkedIn that, oh, I got a second place, or are you only going to write out when you got the first place? Kind of like a mentality.
How do you cope with, let's say that you have this mentality, you always want to achieve better and better and better, and yet you see yourself being not there yet. How do you make sure that this stays a motivation and not something that actually takes a negative spin in your life? Because I feel like right now in the season that I'm looking very much forward for what is coming, but I still don't have it yet. And it kind of feels demotivating. So how do you cope with that? Or do you even cope with that?
Well, I'm glad you're asking, because my fourth point I was going to mention is patience.
Oh.
So the fourth point is patience. Because now I'm mentioning all these things and it just sounds like a fun roller coaster ride where it just keeps on going down and it's fun, but then it's going to go back up, right? So the patience for the next step. If I got the second place yesterday and the next competition is in 2 months, there's 2 months until I can change that second place. I can't change it tomorrow, even though I go back to work. So it's like putting that plan out. Like, is it a failure or is it an opportunity? Well, why did I lose? Why did I come lose? You don't lose when it comes second. But in my mind,
it feels like
yes,
it, right?
yes. But why did you do it? You should then ask yourself. In sports, then you could say, well, I used to row, so I can use rowing as an example. Was it because I haven't trained enough in the wind? So when there is like bad weather conditions, I'm just worse than my competition because they train more in it. Because then I have 2 months where my focus is going to be what it is that I know I can improve. Was my condition not good enough? Were they just generally better in the last 200 meters of the race? Well, then I can't do much about that other than improving my condition. So the last part is the patience part. Obviously, you have to put a plan, because if you just say, well, I want to go from here to here, and I'm working in between it, but I don't have any milestones between, then it can seem like very long 2 months and not a long journey. So if you have a season, and of course it's tough, like that's the resilience part. I think that's why the 4 actually keeps together. Like with that patience and that resilience, it's like, why are you doing it in the first place? Because if I didn't want to win, then I could just quit after that and let go. You probably have a goal of something you really dream of. Why is it you have that goal? And that's the thing I would think about in those 2 months when you keep being let down. Well, what are some of the small steps that will make me feel like I'm underway? Is it that I'm starting a podcast and suddenly I can have people in every single week? Is that a step to the way that now suddenly people are going to hear way more about me? Or is it more personal about what you're delivering? I feel like with my skills here, maybe I'm not as competitive with other people. Let me reach out to some people that are doing the same stuff as me and let me have a conversation with them. Maybe you figure out, whoa, I'm actually doing really, really good stuff. But because sometimes you feel like you're so alone with what you do and you don't really talk to other people, then it feels way tougher.
Yep.
So I think that would be some of the advice I would have.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, because in our team, we are kind of a bubble. And when one feels low, it's kind of like everybody feels low then, I feel like, at least. So sometimes it's, I don't know, hard to find people that actually care to listen about what's happening, I would say.
No, everyone loves to listen. And it's just, that's a Danish culture thing too that you hear now. You feel like that people are so closed down that they don't want to help. But I guarantee you, if you write someone that's doing the same kind of work that you do and say, hey, you got 30 minutes for an online coffee or something, it doesn't have to be your team. But sometimes getting that outside perspective and them saying, you guys are doing great. Like maybe it feels like that because you're sitting with it every single day. Yeah. But if you're telling someone about it that's not sitting with you every day, they might actually say, you guys are doing great. You go, keep on going.
That's a really good advice, because I'm just thinking about people in a family, because they don't care that much. But if I ask maybe some people that are more involved in similar things, That's actually then my life is changing.
I really, really think that's important. Like the network of the people you learn along the way.
Yeah.
I've met so many incredible people in the States. And I feel like the States, it's a lot easier for people to allow you in their sphere. Because they always know the karma part. You never know who knows someone. It's a little more tough in Denmark because there is the work-life balance. But I think in our age and what we do, if we don't have 3 kids at home and all that stuff, people would love to spend time to have that conversation when you're the same journey in life. Where in the US, I feel like everyone just loves to spend time and talk. But I would never be where I am now if I hadn't had the 100 conversations I've had to actually tell me, are you on the right track or are you not? Because you need to have people that's also honest with you and say, nope, this is not the way you need to go. You need to refocus on this.
So in Denmark, what do you say to people when you want to talk to them about those things? Like, how do you approach them?
Yeah.
Is it?
Well, I have one great example. I love snacks. Like, I absolutely love snacks. It's kind of like a limited edition snacks. I order them online from all around the world. I think it's fun because that's a passion of mine. So I had one point in life where I actually considered maybe I should go into the industry of like food innovation. Maybe that's where my passion is and maybe that's what I should do. I found all the people that are like lead food innovators in Denmark on LinkedIn. I stalked the heck out of them. Marketing managers for the actual people that are like biochemists, everything. Looked at what they've worked on. Who developed what products? Like, what products do we know today? Like Mondelez. Like, if you look at what products they've come out with now, like, how did they get developed? I went all the way down nitty gritty and I found my top 3 people and I thought, these people, incredible. And I knew everything about them, so they knew it wasn't an actual like sales call, whatever I wanted to. So I wrote a mail. I said, hey, I've seen this and this and this. I've read this. This is the background I'm from. I know how busy you are. I know your time. If I can just have 15 minutes of your time on a call on your way back from work, where I can ask you some questions and chat, I would be and chat about what you're doing. I would be forever grateful. And 2 of them never replied back. The 3rd one did, and she is really a star. Wow. And like I ended up getting 30 minutes with her, and I kind of learned, no, that's not really what I should do because I love it as a hobby. I don't love it as something I want to do. But she was just being honest. But she said, it's very rare you find people that know they have a passion and actually want to go explore it before they just make a jump. So everybody's not going to reply back, but you can't just write someone and write them like, oh, I'm going to find my top 10 people and just look into what they've done. Make sure you actually have put in your background work for them because then they know you're serious about it. And then it's a lot easier for people to say, well, you're great too. Of course I want to have a chat because we don't know how we're going to use each other in the future. So that's what I would say. LinkedIn, but actually really take time and get to know the person and not just the...
I feel like so many people nowadays, they are so quick to talk about their own accomplishments and having that self-made attitude. But you have the opposite take so far. You're very upfront about how many people influenced you in your journey. Why that?
Well, because it really is the truth. So my background is in economics. I thought I was going to sit on Wall Street and I was going to be trading stocks. See where I am today, right? So I love finance. I love economics. I think it's so interesting, market behaviors, all of these things. And I went out and I took an internship. And I could feel that, yeah, I'm good at it. But did I like it? Not really. And I had a boss that was just super fair with me and square. And he was like, you are extremely talented and I'm so happy to have you, but you can do so much better than this. And I was like, yeah, I was like, it was so much better than this. Like I shouldn't be sitting and doing bookkeeping or something. Like I have a mind that wants to do more and more. You can't do more at bookkeeping. That's fraud, you know? There's a limit to what you can do. So he was like, you just have some other skills. And then I tried to like explore different things. And it was actually when I took my MBA, I suddenly learned about marketing randomly. I thought I was still in this other path, that this is where I was going. And I got so fascinated by this one professor and how he explained like behavioral marketing and all the different things that after class, I went up to him and I was like, I love this. I was like, I can feel something inside me that's like, this is for me. And I told him, I've never touched it a day in my life. And now I'm almost done with my MBA. Where do I start? And he was like, come with me to my office. I was like, okay. And then we started talking. And then he was like, well, I wrote this and this and this and this journal. Go home and read them. And then you can come back to me and see if you still like it. And I loved it. I loved it. And I was like, what can I do? I will work for free. What can I do with you to get some experience and learn it? And he was just like, well, it's kind of like, he is a professor. He liked teaching people, but he also have work to do. So I've been so curious to actually just learn stuff and ask people. Because if you generally are interested, people will always help you. So if I was just there because I thought that I don't know, he could give me a job or something else, he knew I really just wanted to learn. So I think the reason I say it is because if someone else were at this part of their journey, like you really just have to trust that you can ask and be honest. Because if I had just kept on going with whatever else direction, it wouldn't have been for me. Yeah, I would have been good at it, but I wouldn't have loved it. And if you don't love what you're doing, you'll never be the best. So it's like, and I think it's all the people I talk to that's like, well, you're still young. You can still switch up what you're doing. You kind of feel like, oh my God, I'm stuck in this and I already have this education. But it's like, well, you're not stuck. It's just about getting all the different experiences and talking to people. And I have such a huge network in the US of people that took the time to drink coffee with me. And then we bonded and now we just keep in touch. Wow. So I'm very blessed with that, but it takes effort and you're going to be knocked down so many times by people that don't have time for you. But the people that do have time for you, it's so genuine because they actually really want to help you. So I never say no other than if I really can't with my calendar, then I just find a day later on. But I never say no if someone genuinely wants to just chat because they don't know if they should continue what they're doing or they're curious about what I'm doing. If I can make it work, I will always say yes because that's what I'm the most grateful for.
So this is kind of like a mentorship for you, but you don't have one specific mentor, but you are trying to pick whoever can be helpful in that specific area.
Well, I actually also have a few mentors, but I have a mentor that's a lawyer. I have a mentor that's in financials, and now I also got a female mentor that's working in IT here in Denmark. So I always try to have more people I can ask the silly questions to. Because if you're sitting with someone you want to impress, you're not going to ask that question that it's going to make you look stupid. People say, oh, there's no stupid questions. Of course, we all want to look our best. So you want to find some people that you don't need to impress. Some people that's going to tell you the honest truth. So I do have a few mentors, but I have way more people that I've met other ways or at events or something where I've said, I would love to have coffee with you someday because it would actually matter to me. I was at an event at the British Embassy not too long ago, and I met an incredible HR director for a big bank here. And I was like, she is a powerhouse. And I would be honored if she would take 30 minutes with me someday. And she said she will try to find a time here in spring or summer. And I'm not going to push on it because I know how busy they are. But the fact that she will consider it will mean the world to me because I have a ton of questions. I think that's really interesting too. So I think it's about, if you don't take the shot and asking, you're never going to get a yes. Yeah.
Rebecca, you came from marketing manager position to the position I have now as a director and partner. How did you do that?
In a very short time, I would like to say.
Yeah, well, how did I do that? Well, obviously hard work, but I think what really got me there is my curiosity. So when I worked as a marketing manager, I delivered great results because I always want more. I always want to be better. I want to deliver something and achieve something, but I also want to learn more. So as long as I'm performing in my marketing department, what more could I learn? I have a financial background, but I knew nothing about operations. I knew nothing about supplies, all this stuff. I became curious and I started again trying to explore and say, hey, I have a few extra hours this week, asking colleagues, can I help you out with something? Like, I really tried to learn as much as I could. So I was specialized in one thing, but I wanted to become more generalized in other stuff. So when I came back here to Denmark, I took a role that was more generalist, where I wanted to see how can I work myself up, if that's what I'm best at, using the tools and skills I have. So I learned that I'm not a great specialist per se. I don't think I'll ever be the best designer or the best developer or the best any of those things because that's not where I'm strongest. I'm really, really good at being in a helicopter and actually keeping track and stuff and see patterns and how stuff actually interacts with each other and how it works. So I needed to find a way I could use that. So obviously when I go into a role, I go in because I have a job description, but I really always want to do more. So I think that's what got me here, that I was marketing manager, then I switched job, then I was an associate director in an investment company, and then I was a consultant, and then it just went super fast. So obviously there's also some more legal stuff that the previous founders, they wanted to leave the company. One of them had been at the company for 7 years and actually hadn't finished school yet because he started just right out of high school, and he had other ambitions. And then he trusted me to take over his spot because I might have come in at a later point at the company. The company was listed in 2015. I didn't come on board before 2021, but more that I showed that I really, really wanted to make a difference there. And I really wanted the best for the company. So I think there's obviously a lot of small technical stuff you can talk about, but it is that, yeah, I got a job description, but if you know what I did that day, it was 60% my job description and then 40% everything else I could do to better the company. So I always had the company in mind and not really me in mind, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You mentioned trust.
Yeah.
How do you build trust like that? Because it's a very quick period as well. 2 years from an entrance level position to become a director, but it also tells a lot about the skill that you have about communicating trust or being trustworthy. And I know that there's a very good skill also to have in sales and talking to clients, potential clients, and all that. But in your case, it was also very good at internally, just with your bosses, as you can say. How does someone? Because like people are usually, they trust themselves in a way, I think, but how do you communicate that? How do you communicate being trustworthy to people around you?
I think it has a lot to do about like the interpersonal communication that you have with people. So obviously there's also my tasks during the day and like the responsibilities I have. So I have a job that I need to complete. I have some tasks and some things that are expected of me. But if I can see someone else that needs an extra hand, am I just going to stick with my job and my responsibilities, or am I going to go over and say, hey, can I help you out here? Is there something I can do or that you can onboard me to and I can help you out with it? Like that communicates trust, because there's a lot of the people that have the mentality of I just receive my salary and then I go home at 5. But there's also the people that have the mentality is, if I'm on top right now and someone is struggling, I'd rather both of us should just be mediocre. So I think it's the choices you make. So when I came on to Kvalifik had a really hard time because we just had COVID. And COVID was just kind of phasing out. There were still restrictions. But the company had to take a big loan to actually have salaries, not letting people go. Because again, the culture, you didn't want to let people off.
Right.
We loved the people we had. We didn't want to have them find anything else. I wasn't on board at that point, but I can feel it now. So that's why I'm talking on their behalf.
Right.
So when I came in, I knew that we had to pay back 2 million kroners. That's a lot of money in 2 years that you have to pay back. And how do you show trust? You do that, but you're not going to ask for something that you don't really need, but you're going to help people where you can. So I'm not going to come in and say, I want the biggest salary in the world and I expect A, B, C, D. No, you're going to say, what can we do together to make this situation turn around and we can come out on the other side? Because it's tough. Like, we don't have any money we can just pull out of our pockets. We don't have any credits with the bank we can use. If we don't have money on the account, we don't have money on the account. And if you have to pay like about 100,000 every single month, just cash, and then you also have to run a business. And I think the fact that now we're co-owners, when Soren brought me on board, he was one of the people hiring me and then one of the founders. They hired me for a role and didn't really expect me to do much else. But I could very quickly feel something was going on because I have that feeling of there's something going on here. And I really tried to build a trust with them to let me in and tell me what's going on, because that's the only way that I can help. I'm not going to propose that we're going to have a summer party costing 50,000 kroners if I know that we are struggling with having the liquids. We're doing great with clients and we're making money. But there's a difference between the liquidity of the money that you have and actually what your results of the company is. So I think I built the trust that way. Then instead of saying, oh, I came into a ship that could be sinking, then I'm going to say, let's figure out how we can fix the holes and get it back up again, you know? So I think that's trust, that they said, okay, we're going to tell her what's really going on. And as they said, you could run away really fast and be like, I don't want to be a part of this. This is not what I signed up for. Or I can say, you know what? I signed up for you guys, for the culture. So whatever that comes with that, I want to solve together with you. And I think that was kind of the approach that I took, because we just genuinely care about each other in the company. It's like, it's hard to explain when I talk about Kvalifik to people are like, oh my God, you're telling this fairy tale again. But that's really how I feel. Like, you feel that empathy and you feel that people really care. So if someone is having a bad day, you see other companies where they kind of just like, I'm not going to ask. Like, it's none of my business. But we're like, do you want to talk about it? Is there something we can do? Do you need to just take a half day to go home? Is there something you want to fix? And maybe you're busy with schoolwork, or maybe you have to move tomorrow and you haven't packed your stuff. Like, creating that environment where you just trust that we want each other's best. So no matter what it is that you're struggling with, you're not going to look different at you. We just want to figure out a way we can help you. So I think that was also the trust I try to come in with, that no matter what you tell me is going on with this company, I'm not going to run away. That will not be what's going to make me run away. If you're suddenly going to have a horrible culture and stuff, I will run. Like, I will. Yeah. But all the other stuff, that can be fixed.
So would you say it's like just to genuinely care?
Yeah. I really think to genuinely care, but it's also about having the mentality that I might have a job description, but I will do more than my job description without asking more for it. So I think that's the mentality about, like, I really want to do more than what's being asked because I want to do it. I'm curious. I want to learn. I want to take the pressure off people's shoulders because I have the energy and I have the time. Like, if I'm super busy, of course, I'm not going to go out and say, I'll take more tasks and stuff. But I was just in a position that obviously I can take on more. Just give me more. So that's what I did. And that's kind of how it went super fast.
Yeah. You said you have a lot of people in the US they you have networked with and all that, and that helped you a lot in your journey. Why did you come to Denmark then?
I think I came back to Denmark for two reasons. Or the first reason was clear. There was some personal health issues in my family, so it was a good time to just go home and check in. I hadn't been home a lot in the 7 years I was gone. I think I was back maybe 4 times. So it's kind of, I lost touch with Denmark. And then while I was back here, I thought it was just going to be temporarily. And then I was going to move back home. I still had my stuff in the States. Obviously, I had quit my lease on my apartment, but I still had friends that had extra rooms, so it'd be quick going back, and I had my visa. But as I came back to Denmark, and it sounds crazy saying, I was like, I don't fit in. I was like, wow, I grew up here, and now where I'm here, I feel like I'm out of the society, and I'm a foreigner. Because I don't fit into the cultural norms that we have in Denmark anymore. I was very good at following the janteloven when I was younger. I could also be a brat, and don't get me wrong, but it's like you didn't want to do anything special, and you didn't want to have the sharp elbows or anything. But after being in Denmark, where everyone, or being in the States, where everyone encouraged you to, you can do better, and you can do this, and you just aim for the stars, and always doing that positive reinforcement, then you kind of come back with like, well, nobody else is doing that here. Of course, people are supporting, but it's like, don't talk too much about yourself. It's like, it's us. You're not that special. There's like 20 of you. But it's okay to say that I do want to be special. I want to create something unique. I want to create something I'm proud of. So it was just like, I could feel that I just didn't belong. And I wanted to kind of challenge it and like, can I actually bring the best of both worlds and still belong? So when I found Kvalifik, it was kind of like I just fell in love with the company. And I was still like, had a little like, was I going to move home, or can I find something I'm going to love? And then I started at Kvalifik, and it just went so fast that I was like, I am not going back. This is where I belong. So I think it was just that I found something I was so passionate about, and they just embraced me for me, we have so much diversity in the team. We have people from Argentina, from Poland, from Hungary, from China, just a big, nice culture melting pot.
Yeah.
And I was just like, so it's okay that I'm here. I was called the American by a few clients, and they call us. They're like, oh, I spoke to that American. Oh, Rebecca, right? So they just embraced me for me, and I was like, okay, Copenhagen is so diverse. I didn't grow up in Copenhagen. I grew up like 35 minutes out of Copenhagen. So basically, but it's different. You didn't have people from all sorts of cultures, and that helped me feel like I do belong. Because if people come here and they feel the same way as I probably did, if we find each other, it's going to be great. And it did. So, yeah. So that's kind of why I stayed in Denmark, I think. And now I could never imagine leaving Kvalifik.
Okay. Is it hard? I don't know if it's maybe too controversial topic to touch, but you're a woman in this leadership position. Are there some challenges just you by being yourself in those shoes?
Yeah, I don't think necessarily as being myself is the issue, but being in IT as a female and a leader, you can kind of feel like you're sometimes the odd one out. So it's not that people are necessarily trying to make you feel different, but when you walk into a room and I might show up in, I don't know, a red dress and then some heels and everyone else is standing in black suits, you do look different. Yeah. So it's not that I feel that I don't have the same opportunities, and it's not like I don't feel like I get the respect that I should get, but it's about having the confidence to be like, I can be here too, and I can say what I want to say as well. I've had a few incidences where it's been, you could feel that there was a different treatment or a little bit of a lack of respect, but it wasn't meant in a bad way, but it's kind of like how you speak to people. You wouldn't say the same joke to a female alone in a room full of men, like you wouldn't say if there was like 50-50 female and males, because you understand it differently. So I feel like sometimes you hear something and you kind of be like, nah, I'm going to let it go. Kind of like, oh, so who are you the secretary to? Where like,
interesting.
So it's like they say it as a joke, but it would have been more fun if it was 50-50, right? If there's 50 girls, 50 men, because then you wouldn't take it as personal.
Yeah. The fact that you don't take it as personal and that you understand that you're the odd one out, do you think that that's also, because they're also the opposite attitude, right? That you actually get offended, that you actually take it personally. And I think it's interesting that you don't. Did you have to grow your confidence to come to that place?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's the resilience part that I talked about. The first couple of times, it was nice, and I really didn't know how to react because I'm a very direct person. So normally I would just say something back and kind of, hey, not cool. Are you someone's, I don't know, like gardener? Like you could say something stupid back, but I didn't. I held it inside of me until I at least had someone I could speak to. So now I have this female mentor in IT.
Okay.
And speaking to her, she's the complete opposite. And I love like her saying that she always says like, maybe it just went over my head. She was like, I don't act different because of it. And I think because I've heard so many people being knocked down by it, I needed someone to tell me that I let it go, because 99.9% of the times they actually don't mean anything bad with the jokes or whatever they're saying. I've never had anyone discriminate against me or anything directly. It's just been some of those fun jokes that can get misunderstood in this situation. So it has been a resilient part. And now I met a lot of female leaders afterwards, after some of these incidents, that have empowered me so much to be like, wow, these women are great, and there is a lot of us, and like men are just as great, and together we are even greater, you know? Right. So yeah, it's just a part that if you feel different, you're also gonna act different.
Right.
But you can also feel different and be like, well, I have something more to this or a different view. So I just love that I've learned a lot. I was at a leadership course for agencies where we also got taught that leadership groups with females and males perform better than females only and males only. So it's not the
because a good balance, right?
Yes, the balance. It's what's ideal, and I think that's what would be nice if more agencies had females and males. And obviously there are a lot of power women out there, but it would be nice to see more of them.
Yeah, especially in IT.
especially in IT. Yes.
Yeah. So it's do you have, because Kvalifik is a very your industry is in IT, is in what I saw, a little bit of like a lot of like web design. Is that what you guys do?
Yep, web design, but also app development, software development, the AI. So we have the design part, and then we have the heavy IT,
Right.
where it's actually software and coding, and yeah.
Okay. So would you say it is a male-dominated industry still?
Absolutely. When we put up a job post for a new position, we get 90% male applicants. So even though we try to constantly tweak what we put in these job descriptions and job positions to attract more females, because we want to have a 50-50 to choose between, it's just a male-dominant industry. Because if you look at the institutions where they go, it's male-dominant still. There are more and more females enrolling, but it's usually still 80-20 or 90-10%. So the people that are employed in these fields, that's also going to be what you see when people apply to your jobs. So it's hard getting the diversity, because it just goes back to the institutions that there's not as many people that get this education.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think I ran out of questions, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, we can like, because Rebecca, this conversation, I'm getting so much out of this. You know, I think
This
I
was
appreciate
very
it.
nice. Yeah.
Is there like any advice that you can give to people that are starting things, or people that want to, the more that you mentioned before, want to go to the next thing? Is there anything you can tell them that you think, okay, if I knew this back then, I would really appreciate if someone take the time to share that with me?
Yeah, I think it's one of the advices of what I got myself with. It's okay to ask people for a cup of coffee and kind of learn from other people and being curious. So if I hadn't been as curious about all the different areas in a business, I wouldn't have been able to sit in the position I am now. I couldn't have done our salaries and our financials and all the administration and stuff. That's because I got my hands on it, because I was curious. So I feel like if you're at a place that whatever education you may or may not have, that doesn't matter, but whatever experience you have, you can go out and say, like, I know I come from this, but this is what I'm really passionate about. How can I learn more about it? Can we grab coffee? Can I come by your office for a day or two and just kind of watch what's going on? Don't be afraid of asking people. I really think that's what it is. Because if you're surrounded by 5 people who think exactly the same way as you, yeah, you're all 5 super smart people, but you're never going to be challenged to think differently, or you're never going to be inspired to do something differently, because you probably are in the same kind of a comfort zone. But if you go out and ask people that are lawyers and nurses and teachers, and you ask people that are 60 and people that are 20 and females and males and like from different countries, all this stuff, suddenly you get these touch points and inspirations to stuff that you can figure out, whoa, these 3 things that I learned out of these 100 coffees I had, I love these 3 things. Now I want to continue with that. And then be curious about it. Like, I've watched a million TED Talks, and I found so many online courses. I didn't have a background in marketing when I got marketing manager and I had 4 employees under me. But what I did was that I went into HubSpot and I nerded all the courses. I read all the books I could rent at the library, and I just started geeking away. So it's like, it's never too late. So it's like, when I got the position and I interviewed for it, they also like, you have no experience with marketing other than your freelance stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but it's enough. And I will prove you why, because ABC. And if you don't like it, we can sign a contract that you can just fire me after this period, and that's okay with me. I just want to have this shot because I'm really passionate about it. So I think, find something you're good at, or something that you think you want to be good at, and then just go for it. Because I think the things that employers love the most is people that are passionate about what they're doing. It doesn't matter if you're good or bad. If you like what you're doing, you will be the best at one point. So I think that would be my advice. Don't do what everyone else is telling you to do. Figure out what you like to do. And then just keep nerding away at it.
Let's go. I have one last question.
Sure.
What's the best book you have ever read on marketing?
The best book I've read on marketing.
or just generally best book, but I would be actually curious about marketing specifically.
I feel like the best book generally is like I'm so bad with names and titles, but it's called Finding Your Purpose and Passion. I think it's called by Matthew something. I still have it at home.
We'll try to.
Yes, I'll definitely send it to you after. But what I learned from that book, and I figured out that it has like religious undertones and it's referring to like the Bible and stuff, but that was not the point for me. It was the point about finding what really, really drives you. And when you suddenly decide that you're doing stuff because it makes you flower inside and gives you purpose and it gives you passion, then you suddenly don't really care much about what other people think about you and what the surroundings expect of you and how you do things, because you're doing it your own way because that's what's driving you that way. So I really, really loved that book. But for marketing, I've read so many nerdy marketing books. Actually, I don't think I can pick one. I think I have a few different ones, but I can look back at because I have some notes on it and send it to you. Yeah.
All right.
Rebecca, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.